wants to be president. Haley Barbour is the Republican governor of Mississippi. He's the former chairman of the Republican Party. He is currently the chairman of the Republican Governors Association, and he would very much like to be president. In 1982, Haley Barbour wanted to be a United States senator. That year, the New York Times followed his campaign, saying at the time, quote, "The racial sensitivity at Barbour headquarters was suggested by an exchange between the candidate and an aide who complained that there would be, quote, coons at a campaign stop at the state fair. Embarrassed that a reporter had heard this, Mr. Barbour warned that if the aide persisted in making racist remarks, he would be reincarnated as a watermelon and placed at the mercy of blacks." Ben Smith at Politico dug up that gem today from Haley Barbour's past that has never really passed. Haley Barbour is one of a handful of Republican politicians whose star is now rising toward 2012. Most of the media attention, of course, has been on the Fox News candidates, Sarah Palin, Mike Huckabee, Newt Gingrich, most of whom seem to me to be trying to best monetize any hopeful, self-stoked chatter that they might run. But the serious people in Republican politics, the real powers that be, the ones who dismiss Sarah Palin, have their hearts set on a few Republicans who they consider to be heavyweights. Governor Mitch Daniels of Indiana, for example, Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey, theoretically Senator John Thune of South Dakota, but really also Governor Haley Barbour of Mississippi. The conservative magazine, The Weekly Standard, just published a 7,000-word glowing profile of Haley Barbour, clearly intended to elevate him as the future of the GOP. The profile is called "The Boy from Yazoo City." Now, one of the reasons why Haley Barbour, I think, will not be president is because in trying to sell himself as the boy from Yazoo City, he's doing the worst whitewashing job ever of Yazoo City and what it was like in Mississippi in the 1950s and the 1960s. For instance, here's what Haley Barbour told another conservative magazine this summer.
The people that led the change of parties in the South, just as I mentioned earlier, was my generation.
Right.
My generation who went to integrated schools, or I went to integrated college, never thought twice about it.
Haley Barbour did not go to integrated schools. Yazoo City High School was not integrated until after he graduated, and his college, Ole Miss, was 99.3% white by the time he finished there. But now Haley Barbour wants you to know something else. Anything you may have heard about racism in Mississippi in the 50s and 60s, that's a northern myth. Quoting from this Weekly Standard profile, quote, "Yazoo City was perhaps the only municipality in Mississippi that managed to integrate the schools without violence. I asked Haley Barbour why he thought that was so. Quote, because the business community wouldn't stand for it. He said, you heard of the citizens councils up north? They think it was like the KKK. Where I come from, it was an organization of town leaders." Citizens councils were organizations of town leaders who paved the way for integration. That's Haley Barbour's telling of it. Here's what we found today indexed under citizens councils in the NBC News archives.
What direction is your movement going into? What do you see in the future?
I see a political organization based on racial nationalism.
A third party?
A third party based on race.
And you would lead it?
Race. No, I wouldn't. I'd help to organize it, along with other people who have been in this fight for many years.
A third party based on race, the white race. Where would we northern liberals ever get the idea that the white citizens councils had anything to do with race? The citizen councils had their own newspaper that was published in Haley Barbour's Mississippi. Here's an excerpt from October 1955. Quote, "There's a rainbow of hope in the dark integration sky. Citizens councils have sprung up to prevent this tragedy from being visited on the schools now and in the future. We will exhaust every legal resource available in resisting the attempt of a Marxist-conscious Supreme Court to bring about mongrelization of the white race by judicial ruling." See, they're just town leaders. Another issue of that newspaper featured this article, Race Equality is a Scientific Hoax. Shortly after it was founded, the White Citizens Council, which Haley Barbour now glowingly speaks of, put out a pamphlet that summed up its reason for existence. Quote, "The Citizens Council is the South's answer to the mongrelizers. We will not be integrated. We are proud of our white blood and our white heritage." Haley Barbour wants to be president. He also wants you to believe that the citizens councils he grew up around in Mississippi were organizations of town leaders that smoothed the way for racial integration. Looking back on Mississippi being forced against its will to stop segregating Americans by race, Haley Barbour now says this, quote, I just don't remember it being that bad. Who knows? Maybe it will be Haley Barbour versus Barack Obama in 2012. Maybe the Republican Party will nominate him. And maybe the South will secede again. Good luck with that. We will be right back.